Welcome to another episode of Minneapolis by Night, Vampire Edition. This is a meeting between Alexander and the primogen of the Nosferatu, Mike. Where did you ask to meet him?
That was left nondescript because I figure Mike probably knows a few better places unless he wants to just go meet at one of the chosen hangouts.
He gives you a location.
Okay. He goes there.
As you get there, the only thing you see is a manhole.
Well, that's a good thing.
Going to his world.
Alex is gonna look at his slacks and say, well, at least I didn't put on my good shoes for this. He'll find some discreet place to go park his car and head on down the manhole once he's sure nobody's around.
Okay. You get down there. First thing you see is Mike in your face. Okay, just checking.
So.
He backs off. You want to talk to me?
Yes. So, in addition to everything that I had in the letter I had sent via my ghoul, at this point, I'm realizing that everyone knows that communication has not been happening, and with it, I didn't realize just how bad it had been with some information that I found out last night, which is apparently a month old. And would have severely changed what had been happening in the last handful of weeks.
Yeah, well, it seems to be the common problem with
yes.
in the city.
And for the sake of at least no one being able to say, well, you didn't ask. Well, Mike, right now I'm here to ask. What do you know of what has been going on?
Well, obviously, other than what was discussed at the primogen meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the Sabbat have ties through various groups.
Yes.
And I know they're planning something big.
Which is the thing that I've been gradually putting more and more together. We have too many big names in this city for what should, antediluvians or not, for what should be a minor problem. The Chosen are here. A few other notables that by rights would normally have no business with Minneapolis.
True.
I'm getting to the point where I want to go send a message up to the council asking them who can pull the strings on Sabbat, because, well, frankly, he's going to pull out a printed copy of the picture that David Morris had given him last night, and he's going to hold it out to Mike.
Interesting.
We have a supposed mole who was feeding us information about what their number of phase operations are. Yep. Anyway, this apparently has to do... This shows that pretty much the Sabbat really are just here as a smokescreen. I'm tempted to get a hold of the Inner Council and figure out who would be using the Sabbat as pretty much nothing but a distraction, as it supposedly is.
Well, without getting a hold of the Inner Council, take a moment and think about it. Who has the power to control the Sabbat?
Well, besides the Sabbat, the Chosen are playing both sides of the field here, so this is either them just being sick bastards and fucking with everyone here, or communally they're all up to something, in which case why are they bothering to give us all boons other than to extend how long we're sitting here with our pissing contest?
He looks at you. One of those could be correct.
Alternatively, Gareth's supposed allies are actually holding the strings.
It's a possibility, too.
Unfortunately, Mike, the truth of the matter is right now the only things I have to go on are pretty much conjecture and theory. I have no leads right now, other than that I need to go get a hold of Blake and figure out what they might know.
You know, it's funny. I know of a few vamps within the city who have been here since the fallout from the Sven Crow incident. And ironically, I've heard almost nothing from them lately.
From Blake in particular, or just the group?
He would be one.
Interesting.
Well, think about it. He's one of the ones that's been here, you know. He's one of the few that have been here for quite a while. Most of the others have been replaced.
The city's body count is getting unnecessarily high.
Yeah. Ironically, it's mostly kindred.
Yes.
If that isn't a subtle hint, I don't know what is.
Well, subtle is a stretch, but I get what you're saying.
How many casualties, if you've had any contact, do you know how many casualties the shifters and the mages have had?
No, because I haven't been able to get in contact with them.
Total of like 6, I believe.
Interesting. So in other words, we're the focus of this, that or we were simply determined to be the weaker link.
Well, to be honest, the Camarilla and the city were determined to be the weakest link. You came in, you saw how it was. I mean, look at it. And
infighting for over a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. And as you're complaining right now, and try about 4.5 years.
Oh.
And as you're complaining about now, lack of communication. You can't provide a united front if you can't get all the goddamn kindred to talk to each other. They'll keep working at you, and they'll find which ones are the weak links, aka which ones aren't saying shit. And they'll make sure.
And those are the ones that get to survive.
Or they just make sure you never get a hold of them. Throw more crap at you. I have no doubts they probably have a bunch more stuff they could have done and haven't.
They haven't needed to.
Well, yes and no. There's some contacts that have recently been acquired that they weren't expecting. Let's just say little birdies make phone calls.
Well, you'll understand the necessity of this question, since supposedly the shifters have birds in literal sense. Are you referring to them, or are you referring to Gortok and his crew?
The figurative version of little birds.
Got it.
Certain people have made certain connections in order to get things better situated. You think all these power players are coming in for no reason?
Of course not. They don't do anything unless there is a reason. The problem is we have to figure out what it is. Alms described, during a conversation that I was having with Ransdale and Carmine, Alms described it as a shell game. The trick to a shell game is that the coin is in the palm, right? Right now we don't know what the palm is. At least I don't.
Well, it's going to come as no big surprise, but most of you guys are merely nothing but pawns, Ransdale included.
I'm well aware. I'm pretty sure he is as well.
Oh yeah, he's a big pawn. He's moving up to bishop status. Figured it, not literally.
Yeah, I would assume so.
What if I told you Gareth isn't the only Sabbat in the city you need to fear?
I wouldn't be surprised.
What
I
if I
just don't know
told you? What if I told you there's someone of greater power than Gareth here?
someone that would perhaps be able to.
Someone who has stayed under the radar the entire time and made sure that all the attention was on Gareth.
Ergo, this book.
I know you haven't been around a long time, but think of it this way. People don't accidentally run into information, don't accidentally run into information. It just doesn't happen that way. Very rarely. That's pure coincidence if it does.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have been handed things. And I'm not talking from other people. Even when the brief investigation some people have done, they ran across something. Don't you think it's a little odd? Especially they ran across something from someone who is a older kindred, usually.
Yeah.
You think the older kindred are going to be a bit smarter than that?
Yep. Which is making me think of two different things. For one, and I understand that I'm about to sound absolutely out of my mind. I assure you I'm not a Malkavian. But
I know.
do you know who stopped by at a closed door meeting the other day between Ransdale and myself and a few others?
He's Miles.
Yes, do you know who he claimed to be?
You're under the false impression that he's claiming to be something.
Well, there's pretty much
What if
two.
I told you he was? He is
Well,
exactly who he claims to be.
Alright, well then that leads me to the second theory then. First was either that he was somebody that was able to mask himself so well, freak everyone out, that he was able to add credence to it. But if you're
Think
going to say
about
that
that.
he
Think
is,
about that really hardcore. Think about your uniqueness and what dwells inside us all.
yes.
How
Which is
often would
why
that get scared?
fair. Which leads me to my second theory. He was saying that we should just take care of the Sabbat, that we should just get rid of them and move on. So, with what you're saying, there's somebody else holding Gareth's strings. That much was assumed. He said as much. My second theory had been that pretty much everything he said was true, but we needed to look at it sideways.
Well, that could possibly be very true as well. You see, obviously, let me give you a lesson here.
No
Angels
one's
and
going to
demons.
say exactly what they mean.
Angels and demons are all they're more haughty-taughty and a lot more annoying to deal with because they tend to speak in riddles even when it seems it's the truth. They'll tell you things in one way, but yes, like you said, you're required to think of it in many different aspects rather than just the one they're telling you. If you take everything at face value from a demon, you're pretty much fucked.
The genie's wish, as he even said.
Mm-hmm. If you take everything too literal, and I'm sure he mentioned quite a few other ways, but if you take everything too literal, then you're bound for failure.
Yes. As I said, the problem is I'm not quite sure which angle to try and approach it from.
Well,
And frankly, we're getting to a point where whoever is pulling the strings has had enough time that unless they have an extremely obtuse goal, which is very likely, they're getting closer and closer to it the longer we sit and just do nothing.
Mike just smiles. Now you're starting to get it.
Ultimately, that's why I sent you that letter. As far as making sure that, as I said, the city seems to be under some sort of coordinated attack. Well, at least we seem to be under some sort of coordinated attack. If
No,
combined,
don't misunderstand. It is a coordinated attack against everyone. You guys are just, we're feeling the brunt because we have less communication.
So, as far as fixing that communication,
Cassie?
yes, sending text messages instead of calling. Anyway, so then, Mike, that pretty much leaves us with a couple of different options. We have supposedly secured satellite phones. No one's using them.
He shakes his head. I'm not surprised.
So, it's the question isn't so much how do we fix the method of communication, because supposedly, as far as any of us are aware, this should be working just fine. The problem is we have too many people sitting on their ass with month-old information that would have helped us out well before I even got into the city.
And there are still questions that have yet to be answered. Questions that have yet to be answered because there's been no look in the right direction. So you guys keep getting distracted by, ooh, pretty shiny over here. Ooh, pretty shiny over here. Like you said, it's all smokescreen.
So again, we have to figure out what the palm is.
Correct. Can't figure out the palm if you're too busy worried about what's in the cup.
Well, again, considering I'm running on half information, do you have, at the very least, a suggestion for where to start?
Start back at the beginning.
So in other words, I need to go find somebody that's been here ever since the beginning and hasn't been saying something.
That too, but I'm more specifically saying, forget what you know right now. I mean, don't intentionally forget it, but put it off to the
Disregard
side.
for the moment.
Mm-hmm. Go back, relook at everything you've done since then. Relook at everything you've gotten, all the information you've got. Recheck everything.
Starting
as much as you can.
Starting 4.5 years ago.
Nah, it really only kicked off about 2 years ago. 4.5 was just when Goofball and other Goofball were too busy fighting with each other. No one really noticed until about 2 years ago. That's when things got interesting. And that is when we, as Nosferatu, said, fuck that, we'll watch.
Frankly, I think you guys had probably the best idea.
Oh, well, stupidity begets stupidity.
Frankly, I should have told Giles that I may have owed him a boon, but this is not worth it.
But then they wouldn't be as far along as they are.
Mike, flattery will get you everywhere.
I'm not worried about it. I'm actually surprised you're the first in a long while to come to me and ask for information. Seeing our clan's reputation.
Yes. Honestly, and I don't mean any disrespect with this, but I somewhat figured that if you guys were keeping as firm of an eye out as everybody believes that your clan usually does, you would have already come forth with somebody that was actually trying to get something done. Though,
yes and no, but at the same time, why should we go to you? Think about it. Mere of a respect issue. Why should we have to go to you?
That's true.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not willing to help and give up information, but
I know.
It's kind of nice that, because we have to use alternate means when we're in your world, so to speak.
Yeah.
Down here, not a problem. Who the fuck's going to come down here besides the workers who, never manage to see us?
Of course. But no, believe me, I
And
understand.
the big goddamn crocodile is down the way. Don't go that way.
He's gonna look down that part of the sewer.
I'd wait on it. He's moody. Apparently apparently the shifter's awoken something and got our little friend there all upset.
It's a shifter thing?
What got him upset? Yes.
So it's an actual crocodile. You're not just giving me shit.
No, it's about 8 feet. You want to go and see it, you can, but pretty warning.
I like
Chuckles.
my limbs.
Chuckles is a little mean today.
Do they?
No, we didn't think it would happen.
So 2 years ago then, huh?
About that. But honestly, I'd focus more on the
I'll see.
past couple of months, because that's when really everything kind of popped off and almost nobody paid attention. The few who did were outvoted by the ignorant many.
Alright. Actually,
and unfortunately, you lost a good source of information when somebody put out a hit on a young new vampire to see.
Who is that?
Can't go into that. Might color your judgment on this person. It was done for other reasons, it was done for personal reasons. Nothing more.
Of course, vampires only do things for personal reasons. I imagine that's... Mike, I imagine that's part of the reason why we're being targeted. We tend to not talk to each other because none of us trust one another.
Mm-hmm. In all fairness, elders don't usually trust neonates. Neonates can't really trust each other because they never know who's being controlled by an elder. On and on. Yes, it's a giant fucking clusterfuck. But the real question you should ask yourself is, how does it work in every other city? How does many other cities never seem to have a problem? You came from one that never had a problem.
Nip it in the bud before it actually can get any feet on the ground. Make sure that everything is too secure for them to try and...
And what does that require?
Again, communication.
Mm-hmm. It's really that simple. They see the weakness and they're exploiting.
Fair enough. Well, for the sake of communication, and also since you already brought up voting, Mike, there's something that I wanted to discuss with you before I bring it up to the others.
Okay.
Since you seem to be, from what I saw at the Primogen meeting, a number of the others seem to let you take the lead somewhat.
I'm the oldest in the city, not counting the chosen. And the walking antediluvian, the two sleeping antediluvians, the Sabbat members, but you get the picture.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the walking one's actually a fairly nice guy.
No, oh yeah. He's not here for any reason other than his own.
Exactly.
And ironically, it has nothing to do with the city.
I'm sorry, you cut out for a moment there. What was that?
And ironically, it has nothing to do with the city at all. It just happened to be a location that his personal reasons are here.
Yeah. So, what I wanted to bring up, Mike, is pretty straightforward. Gortak and his crew have been far more active than a number of the others. Apparently, one of the deals that Gortak struck with Carmine was that he would promote the idea of them being recognized as their own bloodline or clan within the city.
I'd support it.
That's what I wanted to ask.
I mean, I have some issues due to how they were originally created, but I'm also aware that a majority of the gargoyles within the city are created by their gargoyles, so they were not created by Tremere means.
What was the usual method?
Oh, you don't know. Okay. Originally, when the Tremere started, they used certain bloods to make their unique twist. Um, it all depends. Sometimes they wanted something else. Sometimes they wanted something different. It took them a long while to figure out the exact clan, the best clans to use. And ironically, they're still skipping a couple, but I'm not going to go into that. The ones they learned to use, uh, and I'm sure you can put two and two together and figure out what one clan might be.
So in other words, they've been hybridizing things.
You know, and that's how the gargoyles were created.
Well, I can understand that concern.
Tremere bored, wanted something to do, wanted some more powerful because they're most of the Tremere are actually wusses. Actually, you know, unless you give them the chance to cast a spell, and then you're just a fucking retard for letting them do it. But most Tremere aren't battle hardy, so they created the gargoyles to be their soldiers.
Big scary flying meat shield shock troop.
Uh-huh. Big scary flying meat shield shock troop who at certain levels can then commune with stone.
Ah, so that's why Ransdale has them looking.
You know, oh yeah. Gortak and some of his higher ups have a rather interesting ability. It's kind of like the Gangrel Earth meld thing, where they can meld with the earth. Yeah, the gargoyle do that with stone. Except theirs is a little more unique because it's kind of like a stone transportation system.
So the moment they hit bedrock, they can go wherever they want.
Anywhere in the city. Actually, anywhere in the world, as long as, you know. I mean, it may take a little longer than normal, but.
But good luck finding them.
There you go. You won't find them until it's too late, and by that time, you're already squished in a pile.
Alright. Well, here's what I... Alright, well... There's a few things that I do need to get set up soon, so... Here's... So that plan that I had sent you a message about.
Mm-hmm. We can help.
Do you think
yeah.
that would...
We can help, yeah.
Excellent. Do you think that it... In your more experienced opinion, do you think it'll actually work?
If everybody's willing to
other...
listen. I mean, the good news is that since we've kind of stayed out of the politics, we don't have anybody really against us. Think about it. How often do you hear of a Nosferatu doing anything in this city?
Well, he's just going to smile at him. Well, if the Nosferatu does his job right.
He smiles. Very good. But technically, we've actually kind of stayed out of it. I mean, we've watched, we've listened, we've been places people don't think we were. And just kind of listened. Or we have plenty of allies that most people don't know.
Well, no, there's no better way to say it, so I'm going to have to just sound like a sentimental fool, but he's going to offer his hand. Like, honestly, if there's anything that you need for me to help out, all you need to do is let me know. All I ask is that if you can find something out that we can try and put this to bed with,
I will say, if you do make a direct attack against the Sabbat, the casualty list on your end will be quite high.
Frankly, we don't have the numbers one way or the other to actually do a face bashing session with the Sabbat. They're trained for it, they're better at it.
Here's the catch. If you do it right, you can. And that's the difference. The problem is, again, the whole communication thing. If you can get all the clans united with, from the information I have, you guys are getting some assistance. They should be coming in tonight. He looks down at his watch.
Alexander's just gonna...
He smiles.
His eyes are gonna get a little wide. Oh.
You didn't think enough of the, enough shit has been going around that, word of mouth spread?
Honestly, I wasn't sure that they were on our side, supposedly.
Well,
Well,
the higher ups may not be, but there are other people in other cities who wish to extend aid, and they have to do it very subtly. So favors are called in, yada yada yada. Put two and two together.
you've been a busy duck, haven't you, Mike?
He does not. Well, see, here's the problem we don't have that you guys all have. We talk to each other. He points, and it's now that you notice, there's like 6 of them standing around you. Don't worry, they wanted you dead. You're dead.
Alexander's just gonna nod, and his smile's getting a little bit wider. It's like, oh no. Truth be told, Mike, if any of them wanted me dead, it would have only taken you, Mike.
All right, you're gonna hate me for this, but that's getting on my nerves. He points at your face.
I'm working on it.
Don't move. He holds his hand up and his long clawed, because I'm picturing with the rest of his body, he's got long clawed hands, and nails that could rival eagles. Don't move. He walks up. He just slides his hand up a bit. He touches your 2 things and just touches them slightly. You feel the tingle. Much better. Guess what? Get rid of your permanent fangs.
He's gonna run his tongue over his teeth.
God,
you're a man of many surprising talents, Mike. I appreciate it.
You're a fucking walking veil masquerade breach, dumbass.
There's a reason why I try to avoid it when I can.
Yeah, but when you're talking one-on-one with people, they see it. It becomes more prevalent, especially when you're, talking. So
he's gonna nod, and while touching his teeth. So, is this a permanent fix?
Oh yeah, it won't go away. It's not gonna harm you in any way. It's just easing things up, make conversations much easier.
He nods. So, where'd you pick that one up?
Wouldn't you like to know? I've been around a long time. I've got a buddy of mine actually helped me out with it. Fellow clanmate, great guy. Pity he's not here because he'd practically bitch slap all of you until you got some fucking sense left, didn't he? He is not a man to tolerate stupidity for very long. But he's a great guy.
Oh, of course.
And he's a clanmate, so gotta talk him up. But Cash lucked out and he got him as a companion. So he just smiles.
Should Alex know who Cash is?
Yes, it has been recently. AKA it was on the gossip page at one point.
Oh, I missed that then.
Mm-hmm. But it has been recent.
Oh, it didn't register.
Cash is the new Prince of DC. He's also a Gangrel.
Oh, that's right.
And he's also independent. He's also the one who came to this particular city looking for his sister, Jade.
Is this something that Mike's saying?
Yeah.
Or just stuff that's
Mike
okay. And so
and when I mean sister, I don't mean just clanmate. I mean sister.
Interesting.
Oh, if you met his sire, you'd understand completely. Weird duck that one is.
Who was his sire? Or is this one of those
if
things?
I told you, you'd shit your pants. Because then you'd realize just how powerful people were in the city.
At this point, Alexander's just going to kind of give him a, I'm well aware look. It's I met Hakeem at a dive bar.
Well, his sire was the child of Anoia. Direct child.
Oh.
So Jade, the one who was playing as the underling to dumbass Sven, could have run this city at any point in time.
Willing to bet if we did enough digging, we find out that she might have been.
Nah.
Really?
Ironically. The most she was running is Sven's old-fashioned ideas and trying to get him updated. She was actually the buffer between Sven's assholeness and the rest of the kindred. Yeah, quite an interesting mix. I don't know why she didn't bother just bitch slap, Sven into next week and take over, but I don't know.
Because it probably would have made our lives that much easier today.
Possible.
Do you have any idea what happened to her? Because I've not heard word one of that.
At one point, she was kidnapped by your rivals right now. And then eventually she was found by some others, ironically, a few people who were still in the city. Then she was released to Cash because Cash came in here with a very large force of gangrel, basically stating that anybody who gets in his way, he will run over. So people were naturally willing to assist him, if nothing else, because they didn't want to see a bunch of gangrel, turn the city into one giant, fuck you. So they gave Jade back to her brother, and he took her to DC, and that's the last I heard of him. You know what's even funnier? There are a few people who have recently come from DC.
Giles.
Him and a couple others. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure you met one. Actually, both of them.
You're referring to crap, I can't remember his name. Wasn't it Jason?
The cracked mirror. He looks at you. But yes, Jason was one of them too. But when you figure out the cracked mirror, you'll figure out where the others come from. Which others I'm referring to. He just nods.
I'm gonna go ahead and just throw in intelligence roll,
Sure.
Because I'm stupid. Intelligence and anything else, or just intelligence?
You can do kindred lore if it helps.
Okay. Two successes.
Cracked mirror is also the subtle nickname for the Malkavians. Yep.
God damn it. Okay. So in other words, somebody else is trying to point out that they have a vested interest in this city.
Nah, this was more just pure luck, but I will say they were directed here for a reason. Even if they're not aware of what the reason was.
Well, just for the sake of having all of the info, do you know who it was that helped kidnap or help rescue Jade from the Sabbat?
Yeah, ironically, you've already mentioned their name once. Think about some of the older ones that haven't told you jack and shit.
Interesting.
You know, the whole month-old conversation?
Yeah, Blake, Morris.
Mm-hmm. Actually, all right. If you recall, out of character, Morris did bring up the whole conversation about saving Jade. The frog-faced individual when he was mentioning it.
Oh, that's true. He never said why they were there.
No. Actually, I think he did, but either way, he at least mentioned it. Because that's where that book came from.
Hmm.
Either way, but yeah. So, most I can recommend is go about several months back. We'll say about 2 months back. Work from there. Because, like I said, that's when stuff really popped off.
All right. Well. All right. Well, I need to get going, but hopefully we'll get to see you at that Primogen meeting.
Oh, yeah, I'll be there.
I want to make sure that the gargoyles get that seat since they've actually been putting forth effort. I just need to then I'll figure out how at that meeting to, without putting a target on my forehead, pretty much slap everybody else into line saying you all need to open your mouths. I think probably the best way that I'm going to be able to do it is pretty much, rather than asking them to participate with this communication plan with the other groups of the city, Mike, I think you and I might just have to tell them to do it.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, I'll get out of here. We all have work to do.
Hang on.
Take care of yourselves.
You too.
He's gonna head up the ladder and get in his fancy car, and he can go take a shower.
Okay. All right, and on that, thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. Stay tuned and enjoy.